So thank you for tuning in to hear about MOTA Hill Day 2025. We're super excited about this event as we are every year. My name is Jackie Sample. I'm currently serving as the president of MOTA. Today's presentation, you're going to see some information from a couple people that are affiliated with our association. Of course, myself. We also have I'm in here, who's our lobbyist. We have Mario Millsap, who will be our director, who is our director of practice, and Claire Schuler, who is our MOTA vice president. So as I said, we're super excited about this event every year. We're so ready to welcome you back to Jefferson City to advocate for occupational therapy. Please review the information in this presentation, watch for emails, check our MOTA Facebook page for updates on the event, including all of the talking points we'll be going over on Hill Day. We have a lot to talk about this year, and we're super excited to do it together. All right, so I'm going to turn this over to Kaina, who's going to talk a little bit about the legislative process for Missouri and for occupational therapy.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys and give you some pointers on how you can be more effective in the legislative process. I know a lot of people don't think that their involvement makes an important change, but it does. You know, a lot of things can be lost in the legislature by one vote, and you certainly want to make friends in the Capitol and know who your occupational therapy practitioners are supported by, because when the bills come up for votes, we want to make sure that we have people that are going to stand up and fight to protect our interests in the state of Missouri. So how can you do that? Here's a few tips. So this is how a bill becomes law. I'm not going to go down through this for the sake of time, but as you can tell, it's a pretty lengthy process. I think the key takeaway here is that MOTA has introduced legislation on your behalf in both the House and in the Senate. So we have legislation that's going both directions, which will double our chances of getting it across the finish line. We have hearings coming up that we could use occupational therapists to testify in. And then, like I said, once you've made those relationships with legislators, they will be more educated to stand up and debate your issue on the floor. So that is the key thing on reaching out to those legislators and just understanding that I will help push the legislation through the process, but I really need you as an advocate. And that's kind of what this little slideshow is going to go through on how you can be more effective. So in the Missouri legislature, we have 163 House members. Out of that, 110 are Republicans and 52 are Democrats. It currently takes 82 votes to pass a bill in the House. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of people to talk to. So that's another reason why I need your support. In the Senate, it's a smaller chamber. It is the upper chamber, though, and that consists of 34 Senate members, which 24 are Republicans and 10 are Democrats. And it takes 18 votes to get a bill passed in the Senate. Currently, the governor is also Republican, Mike Kehoe, and the House and Senate are both Republican majorities. And successful legislators are people that really take the time to listen. They have to do constant fundraising to get reelected. I consider lobbying and advocating to being like a sales representative. You're trying to sell your message and campaign for the best possible outcome. And then the lobbyist is also involved in working with the legislators. So how do we shape this legislative process? So a lot of people think advocacy is a bad word, but it's not. I'm going to show you why. It is your First Amendment right, and legislators really do want to hear from you. You know, they don't have the time to be experts on everything, so they're going to look to the professionals and experts like you. And as an occupational therapist, it is your right and duty to stand up for these issues and educate your legislators. And to be an effective advocate, of course, you need to be informed. That's why you want to join MOTA, so you'll get timely action alerts. And we also send out weekly legislative briefings on what happened this week. Always be polite. And we will arm you with the best information, like what the title of the bill is, what the House bill number is. But what you need to do is just make it a personal request. And this is probably the most important thing, is know what your specific ask is. And then follow up with that legislator and remain in contact. So there's some ways that you can do some homework before you come to the Capitol. Constituents are definitely above and beyond, the most important constituents or the most important advocates at the Capitol. I can talk to legislators so I'm blue in the face, but if I bring someone in that is actually a voting constituent in their district, they will totally focus on you and listen to everything you have to say. So I can't tell you how important that is. Your voices are very strong. You can now look up legislators. A lot of them have their own websites. A lot of them have coffees or meet and greets in the district. They'll also, sometimes put on Facebook any awards they've received. You can tell on the House and Senate websites what committees they serve on, what type bills they introduce. So just do a little homework before you get there and just kind of see what some of their priorities are, because it just makes it so much easier when you're trying to have a conversation with them if you know a little bit about them. So this is so key on when to talk to your legislators. That's one thing. MOTA will send you on action alerts because it's very key to talk to them before a committee hearing or before a vote. And we've been talking to them throughout the interim while we've been drafting legislation. So it doesn't do any good to really talk to a senator if our vote is in the House. So that's why timing and when you talk to your legislator is important, and who you talk to. And always avoid talking to people when it's inappropriate. They're just normal human beings like you and I. If they're eating out with their family, you don't want to tackle them at the restaurant or sit next to them at church and talk about your legislation, and definitely not at a little league game. I have had advocates do that before, and that has come back to haunt us. So just use your common sense. And as I was saying earlier, remember, you are the expert. I mean, they have already introduced over 1,500 bills, and the legislators just don't have the time to be an expert on every issue or have the time to even read every bill and understand it. So they're going to look to you to fill them in on healthcare settings, what you are seeing at your workplace, and they're really going to rely on you to help educate them on that. That's where you want to be if they see a bill relating to occupational therapy, that they are able to either text you or pick up the phone or shoot you an email to see what your input is on that specific legislation, because you're the expert. So do a little practice before you come up for Advocacy Day. Make sure you know what your issue is and what your ask is. Like I said before, jot down a few notes just so you're not kind of shooting from the hip, and have some facts straight. And the key thing is, if they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, do not make up an answer or try to bluff your way through it. That will also come back to haunt you. So just make sure you write that question down and get it to me or Jackie or Mario, and we'll help you get them the correct answer. These days, it's really easy to communicate with your legislator. A lot of people can write emails now. I would suggest, if you're going to shoot your legislator an email, to put in the subject line that I'm a constituent or I live in District 23. You can make calls, you can text them if you have that closer relationship. But a face-to-face meeting with your legislator is always the best, because you can really have a one-on-one conversation with them about an issue. And just make sure that all your communication is, I should add short to this slide, short, clear, concise, and consistent. Just repeat what your ask is so they know specifically what they need to do, whether it's vote yes on a particular bill, or to reach out to someone in a department to help you set up a meeting. Just make sure it's clear, concise, and consistent. Like I said earlier, do your homework. You know, you can find their schedules on some social media posts now, or the House and Senate hearing websites are online. Make sure you introduce yourself, and it's great to set up a meeting with them in the district during the interim, or attend one of those meet and greets or coffees like I mentioned earlier. If you have a clinic or a specific space that you practice occupational therapy and want to bring in a legislator to do a site visit, that is sometimes successful because they can see you working firsthand and seeing how much your patients really need your help. So, and always give them a business card and follow-up note. And I will add one more thing to this slide is always say thank you. Legislators don't get thank you enough. And they work really hard on your behalf. So just make sure you stay in contact with them and build that relationship with them and maintain a relationship. Oh, I got ahead of myself there. So definitely, I'll just reiterate, please send them thank you notes and give credit where credit's due, because they are in Jefferson City 5.5 months out of the year and away from their family. So just a lot of times they don't get enough credit for that. So MOTA really needs your voice. You are the expert. We need your persistence and we need your advocacy, because if you're not at the Capitol speaking up for occupational therapy, you know, who is? And so we just really hope you'll join us on March 12th. It's a fun day. It's a great day to meet your other peers in the business and advocate for what's important to your industry. So I will turn it back over to Jackie for that. And I look forward to seeing you in Jefferson City.
Thanks, Kenna. We'll see you in March. All right. So kind of went through just kind of the basics of how to advocate, what this will look like. You'll hear later from Mario Millsap regarding the exact talking points that we will be going over, the specific bills. You'll hear that later in this presentation, so stay tuned for that. And we'll also make sure that that's available for you to access in other areas. But before we jump into the talking points, I do want to talk about some of the logistics, or just what we call the Hill Day essentials. It's a fun day, but it's a busy day and sometimes a long day. So it's important to kind of know some things to put into place before you come into Jefferson City. So the next slide, we're going to look at a map real quick, but just some logistics regarding actually getting to the actual state capitol building. Parking in Jefferson City around the Capitol is pretty limited. If you can carpool, I would highly recommend it, just because of the parking. Most of the parking is meters with coins. I do think some of them have been adapted with some more like a card availability pay, but just in case, you might want to bring some quarters along with you if you plan to pay at a meter. There is free 2-hour parking around the Capitol building, but it is for only 2 hours. So if you're going to come for the day, you're literally going to have to go out and move your car every 2 hours. So, and those spots are usually pretty full anyway, but they're there. There is a 10-hour metered parking 1 block east of the Capitol building. It's like a little side street. We'll look at it on the map here in a minute. And you can park there for 10 hours as long as you pay the meter 10 hours worth of quarters. So bring lots of quarters. There is a parking garage that's about 3 blocks east of the Capitol building. It's kind of right across the street from the governor's mansion. That's where I would encourage you to park. You can pay there with a card or cash on your way out. There's street metered parking all around downtown around the Capitol. It typically is limited to 2 hours. There are some roads where you might find up to 10 hours, but you're going to need to bring quarters. So just FYI, I would try to get a space in the garage. Be prepared to walk a few blocks, from wherever you park. And one thing that I always laugh about, Jefferson City and the Capitol itself sits literally right on the river. So it feels like you're walking uphill regardless of what direction you're walking in, because it's on the bluffs. So be ready for hills, regardless of where you park, because you'll be walking up and down hills or up both ways, depending on how you look at it. So here is the map of where we're talking about. So you can see the river that's at the top of the slide. So the Capitol building there with the big yellow star, that's literally, it sits right on the river. The green arrow here to the right, that is the city parking garage that I was talking about, where I would kind of aim to park. This greenish circle, that's the little side street that has the 10-hour metered parking. If you want, again, there's parking meters all along all of the streets. This yellow circle here that's in front of the Missouri State Capitol building, this is the entrance to the building. So when you look at the Capitol, you'll see doors on both sides. You'll see doors on the river side. But the door in the front here with this yellow circle around it, that is the only way in. And it is actually under the carriageway. So there's an arched kind of tunnel that is in front of the Capitol. It's literally where back in the day the carriages used to pull in to let people out. That is the only entrance that is open to get into the Capitol. So regardless of where you park and in which direction you come to the building, you have to go to the door that's on the opposite side of the river side and go in. So go underneath that big arched doorway and you'll see the door there. There is a metal detector, so you will have to go through a metal detector. So just be aware of that. So what to wear at the Capitol building? You need to wear neat, clean, professional clothing, business casual, comfortable. Make sure you're comfortable, okay? If you're a student and you're attending, your faculty can assist you in guiding what their dress code is, what their expectations are, or what we have done in previous years. Think about what you wear for a job interview and dress similar to that. I would not wear any type of heel. So that includes, high heels, but it also includes things like cowboy boots. Do not wear something with heels. The floor in the Capitol it's beautiful, but it is, I think, limestone and marble. It is not forgiving, and you'll be walking a lot or standing a lot, and you will be in a lot of pain if you wear heels. I know this from personal experience. So just do not wear heels. Wear nice, comfortable shoes. And then always wear a name tag or a badge if you have one. That makes it a lot easier for people to look, see where you're from, call you by name if needed. So wear a badge if you have one available to wear. So what to bring to the Capitol? You can download these slides. There might be some volunteer packet information coming out. We will not print copies of this information and have available for you to take at the Hill Day event. It's a lot of extra stuff for us to bring into the Capitol. So if whatever information you're going to need that you need to remember, take screenshots of it, download it to your phone, whatever it is, print it out, but bring it with you because we will not have copies. Bring your name tag if you have one. Bring your change for the parking meters or money for the garage. Bring a camera or your phone to take pictures, knowing that you can take pictures pretty much anywhere, and we want to see lots of pictures. The only thing you can't take pictures of is if you go in and watch session, like on the House floor, you can't take pictures of a live or an active legislative session. Bring business cards if you have them. If you have a personal legislative concern that you're worried about, that you want to speak with your legislator about, feel free to write a letter or a note to your legislator to discuss that issue if it's not a MOTA legislative message. So like I said, Mario is going to be going over what our talking points are going to be for the day. So if you have something additionally you want to talk to your legislator about that's not on the MOTA list, please feel free to do so in letter form, or if they have time to meet with you privately outside of the MOTA specific meeting, then please feel free to do that. Bring a water bottle. They do have water fountains in the Capitol, and we'll also have water bottles at lunchtime, but bring your own water bottle to stay hydrated. You might want to bring a pen, and then any friends, coworkers, colleagues, we'd love to have them. And then just a reminder, you have to pass through a metal detector when you enter the building. So just some miscellaneous stuff. The Wi-Fi and cell service in the Capitol can be pretty spotty. For some reason, my phone never works in the Capitol. I cannot text. So I have an iPhone and I have T-Mobile, and I cannot get service. It's ridiculously annoying. But other people who have the same service are fine. Other people who have different services are fine. Other people may not. So just don't just know you can't count on reliable cell service in the Capitol. You might have some spotty issues. You can absolutely ask your legislator for a tour of the Capitol. And they may even have, so when I say LA, that means legislative assistant. So every legislator, whether they're a state rep or a state senator, they have a legislative assistant. And they can arrange for a tour up into the dome of the Capitol. It's like a special request. Not everybody has access to walk up into the dome. So, but the legislative assistant may be able to do that. So you just have to ask if you meet with them, hey, can we go up to the dome? And they're usually pretty good about arranging that and letting that happen. So it's pretty cool. So the picture here on this slide is actually from a group of students from a couple years ago, I think, who asked that question, and they got to go up into the dome. And in the dome, you can also go then on the outside of the Capitol in the dome. So it's pretty cool. So you can see the river in the background of that picture. So it's pretty fun. So ask the question. If your legislator offers to introduce you on the floor, say yes. So that just means they may like pause session as they're talking, and they were welcome guests. So you will stand like on the side of the House floor or the Senate floor, and they will make an announcement from the dais where we welcome so-and-so and so-and-so. They're here for the Missouri Occupational Therapy Hill Day, and everybody goes, yay, and that's it. If you are going to be introduced on the floor, please try to find a way to get back to let us know so that we can be there to take pictures. We can be there to clap along with everybody else, whatever it is, because we would love to be there to hear your names called on the floor. Okay, so starting your day. This is a display we had a couple years ago, so it looks different now, but you'll see an OT area where you will go to, okay? So you will find the MOTA display in the third floor rotunda. So when you get into the Capitol, you'll go up to the third floor, and it's like a circle cut out in the middle, and you'll see tables all around because there'll be other people there too. Find the MOTA table. There'll be a sign in. So you must sign in to receive contact hours if you are a practitioner. But you also need to sign in to get your lunch ticket. Okay. So if you don't sign in, we can't give you a lunch ticket. You can't eat lunch. So make sure you sign in. And then you're going to attend your Hill Day events and meetings. As you are registering for Hill Day, you have to identify your state senator and your state representative. We will be working on your behalf to get those meetings set. You'll get emails with confirmations of the times and location of those meetings. So that's what we mean by Hill Day meetings. You also, I mentioned earlier, session. So the House session, they go into session at 10 a.m. So you can also go sit up in the balcony and watch a session. So there'll be all kinds of things happening for you to do. There may be hearings, lots of things. Excuse me. Additionally, we ask that you take lots and lots of pictures. I've provided my cell phone here. If you take pictures, please text me pictures. We just use them for MOTA. We put them on our Facebook page to promote our Hill Day event and help people understand what the day is about and what we do and get done. So please take all the pictures, all kinds of pictures, and send them my way. Share your pictures on social media and tag MOTA. Also, send them to your elected. Our state elected people, they love it when people come into their office to see, especially those that are further away from Jefferson City, right? Their constituents don't always get to come to the Capitol. So it's kind of a cool thing when they have people drive in to meet with them. So take pictures with them and then make sure that you're putting those pictures on social media and tagging those elected persons. And you may even end up in their newsletters because, like I said, they like it when their constituents come to take visit. Yeah, so send them and if you don't put them on social media and tag your legislator, email them the picture because, again, they like meeting with constituents and being able to prove that they did so. So our agenda for the day, this may change a little bit, but this is pretty much how it goes. Excuse me, around 7 a.m., the core group of volunteers who are running Hill Day will arrive at the Capitol and begin dragging all of our stuff in and setting up for the event. Our sign-in will begin around 8 o'clock. So people will start arriving, checking in, signing in, getting lunch tickets. We'll be looking at the hearings and committee schedules to figure out if we need to send people to different hearings. First meetings, excuse me, with our legislators start around 9 a.m. House session begins at 10. Senate session changes when they start session, so we'll find out more on that day. At 11 a.m. is when our OT specific rally will start. So we have the first floor rotunda reserved, and we will have a couple of speakers. We're going to present an award. We'll talk a little bit about OT initiatives, all of those things, do a little rallying cry for OT. And then after that is over, there's a big grand staircase. You may have seen pictures, excuse me, from previous years on our Facebook page, but there's the big grand staircase and we all line up on the staircase and we take a big group picture for Hill Day. So we'll have our rally followed by the group picture, and then we go into lunch. Now, we generally have a lot of people attending Hill Day, so we will have staggered times, which is why it's so important for you to sign in and get your lunch ticket, because your lunch ticket will have a specific time on it for you to come, for you to know when to go get your lunch, okay? So we'll have lunch staggered, excuse me, and then go through our afternoon meetings, and then we'll tear down and we'll be done for the day. So just some more reminders about those actual meetings with your legislators. Some of the groups are large. So we do have some student groups specifically who come in, and maybe 10 students to a group. This picture is one of those groups. There were lots of people who came to see the state representative. So if you are part of a large group, which you'll be able to check the day of Hill Day, please plan to meet 10 minutes prior to your scheduled meeting at the Hill Day check-in. And then you'll walk together as a large group to the actual meeting. If you have another group like right before that, then you don't need to come to check-in and then go back down. Just go from your other meeting, meet your larger group in the next office, okay? But if it's a big group, we prefer for you to all go together versus kind of just people trickling in at different times. Meeting etiquette, introduce yourself as a group or as an individual and thank them for the time to meet with you. Identify why you were there, explain you're representing the Missouri Occupational Therapy Association. Ask the legislator or staffer if they are familiar with occupational therapy. Communicate what OT entails, gently correct any misconceptions. Excuse me. So this year, there's a whole bunch of new House reps and some senators. So you may have to provide a little bit of education on what occupational therapy is because of the turnover with the election in 2024. So be prepared and ready to explain what occupational therapy is, because we will have a lot of new people to educate this time around. Okay, so meeting etiquette part 2. You're going to identify the issues and information that MOTA has provided to you. If you have other things you want to communicate with your legislator that is not on the MOTA paperwork, you can do that. Just put them in a separate document, leave it with your legislator. If your legislator has time to talk with you privately about those issues, then that's fine. That would be great. That doesn't often happen. They're pretty busy, but it may. We just want to make sure that everybody understands that the priority for this day are the MOTA priorities, and any more individual or personal ones you may have should be addressed separately and not as part of the MOTA initiative. You want to make sure you make your ask. So as Kina stated earlier, make sure it's clear. You're very specific about what we're asking for that day. Are we wanting them to support some legislation? Are we wanting them to consider putting OT on legislation? Again, these are all things that Mario will go over when he talks about his talking points. Always thank them for meeting with you. Leave any materials you have brought for them. And then again, get that picture, take a picture and text it to me. And it would be great because I don't know all of them by face. So I don't personally know everybody. So when you text me a picture, say, hey, this is all of us with this elected person. And that way MOTA can also put those pictures out and tag those elected people and say, hey, thanks for meeting with our people. So it's really great. So take those pictures, text them to me, tell me who you met with. So just impromptu hallway or elevator meetings. Again, think about how are you going to describe occupational therapy in an elevator speech, that 30-second kind of how are you going to explain what that is, right? You can also bring in that personal information. You know, why did you choose to go into OT? What led you to that career? You can link it with what you have specifically done in the field, what you've researched, a story from your life, what you've learned in school, whatever it may be. You can bring in that personal information. But remember, you may be their very first occupational therapy experience. And so you are the professional and you are their source of information. So keep that in mind and be ready. Just be thinking about it. Do that practice like Kina was talking about how you would explain that and how you would, what kind of conversation you would have with that person. After the meeting, ask for contact information, the best way to follow up. If it is okay, again, I'm going to say this again, request a picture. Many offices appreciate when their pics are posted on social media and you tag them, but you need to make sure you ask. Send a follow-up thank you note or email. attach any resources, and involve MOTA if further follow-up is required in relation to legislation or relationships that could be built. So as kind of said, if somebody asks you a question, you don't know the answer, let me know. Let kind of know. Follow up with us. We can then step in and follow up with them and have a meeting, provide them with the information they need, provide you with the information they need, whatever that may be. We're happy to fill in the gap and expand. Please do not arrive late for your meeting. And I should add, because this happened once, please do not show up for your meeting. Okay, get there. Please do not get discouraged if your legislator is late to the meeting or if you end up meeting with a staff member. Legislator schedules are unpredictable and frequently change at the very last minute. Those staff members, those LAs or legislative assistants, they are a vital connection to your legislator. Make sure that they understand your ask so they feel comfortable reiterating it to the legislator with whom you wish to communicate. Do not assume the legislator knows about the field of occupational therapy or is familiar with issues concerning the profession. They may have heard of it, they may have known somebody who got OT, but that's not the full view. So don't just stop talking. Don't assume that they know everything. Remember, you are representing MOTA. A positive interaction can lead to further collaboration, which is what we want. A negative interaction hinders our ability to effectively advocate on behalf of the profession in the future. Please do not discuss any issues unrelated to occupational therapy during those MOTA group meeting times. Please be sure to communicate your message in an effective and professional manner. And please remember, legislators rely on us to make them aware of issues, just like we rely on them to represent our voices. They are just like you and me, and they're willing and willing to listen and learn. And they really are. It can be intimidating at first. That's what a lot of people feel and say. But they're just, your neighbor's dad. I mean, if the more you talk to them, you recognize that you have people that you know in common, or you have the same favorite restaurant or whatever it is, because they're from your community. So they're just people. So there are some resources for talking with legislators that we've provided. There's a document from 2016. It's on tips for calling your legislator, but you can also use those tips when you're thinking about having a conversation as well. So those could help you prepare. Additionally, there's 2 videos here. They're very old, but they're still very relevant. They're probably about 10 years old, but they were interviews that I did with 2 sitting reps at the time on the tips that they wanted to give to advocates who came into the Capitol. So one of them was, at the time, it was Representative Caleb Rowden. He went on to be the president of the Senate later on. He just turned out this last year. So, he worked his way up into leadership from the House all the way up to majority leader in the Senate. And then the other one is Stephen Weber, when he was a House rep, and he is now currently a senator. So they're both still around, and I think what they have to share with us, even though it's 10 years old, is still very relevant information, and I encourage you to take a look at those videos. So, all right, so now we'll hear from Mario on the talking points.
So welcome to our overview for this year's legislative talking points. So we're going to talk about some key issues affecting occupational therapy in Missouri. For MOTA Hill Day, and it's crucial that we as OT practitioners understand these bills and proposals so that we can advocate effectively for our clients and profession. So the first bill is House Bill 711. So this sets up a process for students to attend public school in another district. So while this expands options for families, it doesn't explicitly require the new district to provide the same special education or related services. And as occupational therapy practitioners, we worry that the students with disabilities would lose access to essential therapies, which can create significant disruptions in their educational process. What we're asking for is clear provisions that guarantee special education services to continue seamlessly when a student transfers. The next one is HB 1048. So HB 1048 aims to make it easier for people with mobility impairments to obtain new or accessible parking placards. If it's passed, this bill would reduce administrative hurdles to help more Missourians maintain their independence and community engagement. MOTA has recently attended a hearing and got a positive impression from our advocacy efforts, and we're hopeful that it will continue to move forward. Still, we encourage everyone to stay vocal in support. And should it pass before Hill Day, we ask that we have everyone come in to express gratitude for those that have supported this bill. So this is Section 504. Missouri has joined a 17-state lawsuit to seeking to overturn the updates to the Section 504. And so Section 504 strengthens protections for individuals with disabilities. If this lawsuit is successful, it could roll back critical accommodations for schools and in healthcare settings, everything from sign language interpreters to accessible websites. And we're currently urging legislators to stand against this lawsuit and maintain these vital protections for our clients. So here are bills 1024 and 742. Both are anti-DE&I bills that are aiming to prevent state funds from being used for diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. But each bill tackles things differently. So 1024 zeroes in on schools and universities, while 742 is broader, affecting any state agency. So for OT, these bills could conflict with our accreditation requirements that emphasize cultural competency and inclusivity. And if these are passed, they might impact our ability to provide truly holistic and person-centered care and hinder a diverse OT workforce, and also just impact our overall ability to be licensed and moving forward as practitioners within the state of Missouri. And here we have a novel proposal. We are advocating this year for the creation of a director of related services for the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, also known as DESE. As it currently stands, OT, PT, and speech services vary very widely from one district to another through Missouri. And having a dedicated director would help standardize best practices, serve as a resource, and improve the outcomes for all the students that rely on these services. And this role would bring much needed oversight and support to school-based therapists across the state.
So while this presentation has focused on how to advocate and be present during Hill Day, we want to also emphasize that it's very important to continue to advocate for occupational therapy on a state level after. Truly advocating for OT is a year-round endeavor, as we are never sure what may come about within state issues and really truly national issues as a whole. Therefore, we're really urging that we need you to help us support the occupational therapy profession in Missouri. All of us here within MOTA, all of the practitioners are state volunteers. Therefore, really, we are advocating for as many people to participate as possible because we have strength in numbers. So advocacy for occupational therapy is truly a year-long endeavor. Following Advocacy Week, try your best to stay in contact with your legislators, if able. Try to build a relationship. For me, after I met one of my legislators, I was able to meet with them at a cafe for a simple pastry, just really to continue that connection. Speaking of connections, you can also stay connected with MOTA. As an organization, we are made up of a group of volunteers. And as a whole, we represent the needs of all 6,000 plus OT practitioners in Missouri. Therefore, if you have an issue or something that is concerning to you related to occupational therapy, we urge you to email board members, follow MOTA on Facebook, and to become more involved on a local level, start to follow your district on Facebook. We also have co-ops we're currently forming pertaining to different areas of practice. If you're interested in creating or joining a co-op, please let us know. On that note, here's just a little Hill Day personal reflection that I want to share before we have our closing remarks. So rewinding my life 10 years ago, I went to Hill Day as a student. I was one of 4 students that happened to partake in that experience. We all carpooled from St. Louis and visited different legislators' office. Overall, it was truly a successful experience that increased all of our senses of self-efficacy when it comes to talking with legislators. One thing I really want to mention, even texted her today, is that one of my classmates, Joy Bender, had the privilege of giving an elevator speech pertaining to occupational therapy to a legislator on an actual elevator. So really, even if you're a student or if you're a currently practicing practitioner, you never know what Hill Day will have in store for you. So please, again, reach out to us. If you have any questions or comments, you can go back through this presentation and go back to the contact slides to gather Mario's or Jackie's email. And we look forward to seeing you on March 12th. Go OT!